Do you think you'd ever confess to a crime you didn't commit? I'd hope not. Most people start answering cops' questions because they think they can just explain it, but they end up talking themselves into charges even when they did nothing wrong. And if you don't understand how police interrogation techniques actually work, you won't even realize you're being boxed in until it's too late. You're about to watch cops get everything they want out of this man. They bring him food, ask him about his family, and increase the pressure little by little. This is exactly how the police trap you. They aren't on your side. They're gathering evidence, and if you don't recognize these tricks, you could talk yourself into an arrest even when you've done nothing wrong. I'm Jeff Hampton, the people's lawyer, and in this video, I'm breaking down Sergeant Leah Terpsma's interrogation in a double murder case step by step so that you can see exactly how cops use mental tricks to get exactly what they want and the steps you can take to stop them. You might think interrogations start with aggression, raised voices, pressure, accusations.
Hey there. How are you?
Good.
I'm Sergeant Leah Terpsma. It's
Hi.
good to meet you. How are you today? I guess you've had better days.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. Well, you're Rocky, are you?
Yep.
What should I call you? Is that the name you like?
Rocky.
Yeah, okay, I'll call you that. Call me Leah, of course. We've got coffee en route, so how do you like your coffee?
I want some snack, please.
If some food, what would you like to eat?
Something that I can eat.
Like what? Like a sandwich?
If I can, sure.
Coffee en route. So, how do you like your coffee? I want some snack, please. Some food. What would you like to eat? Something that I can eat. Like what? Like a sandwich? If I can? Sure. She walks in calm and smiling. Good to meet you. Rough day, huh? Want a sandwich? Need the restroom? It looks polite, humane even, but it's not casual, it's strategic. What you didn't see is that this man was left alone in that room for 30 minutes before Sergeant Terpsma walked in. Think about that. Nothing but your thoughts. No phone to distract you. Nothing on the walls. No idea what time it is or how long you're going to be waiting. Anxiety builds.
And I appreciate how pleasant you've been, and it makes it a lot nicer for me when I have to come and talk to somebody and they're not a beast about it,
Sergeant comfort. But that's not kindness, that's conditioning. Watch what she does next, and I appreciate how pleasant you've been. And, it makes it a lot nicer for me when I have to come and talk to somebody and they're not a beast about it. More conditioning. She says, when you cooperate, this stays comfortable. When you engage, I approve. And of course, especially if you're innocent, you want this interaction to avoid conflict and to stay positive. But that is exactly what the cops need. They don't want you guarded, they certainly don't want you silent, and they never want you asking for a lawyer, but they do want you to be comfortable.
How old are you?
25.
25? So around that time in my life, it was, it was kind of, there was pressure on to get doing something important,
Lower your guard, you're going to start talking, and after they get you comfortable, the cops start pouring on the charm. How old are you? 20, 25, 25. So around that time in my life, it was, it was kind of, there was pressure.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
No. One elder brother, my younger sister.
How are they doing, your brother and sister? What are they doing?
Because it helps create a fake friend to get you to lower your guard. She then begins to ask him about his family. Do you have brothers and sisters? No. One elder brother, my younger sister. How are they doing, your brother and sister? What are they doing? Now, she doesn't actually care if he's close to his family. She just wants that information to see if she can use it as leverage against him later. Again, what feels like small talk is actually information gathering. He is unknowingly giving her ammunition that she will use later to trick him into confessing to a crime. Sergeant Terpsma starts asking questions about his frustrations, like he's been having a hard time getting a job. She starts listening to see which topics make him tense or emotional, and every answer reveals buttons that she...
There's a lot that's gone on, Rocky, and I'm worried about you. I mean, there's a lot of people, like you've seen half of them already, that are working on this case, but, you know, they're worried about what happened and the people and the house and all that stuff, and I'm worried about you.
She's only focused on the man in front of her. You know, there's a lot that's gone on, Rocky, and I'm worried about you. I mean, there's a lot of people, like you've seen half of them already, that are working on this case, but, you know, they're worried about what happened and the people and the house and all that stuff. And I'm worried about you. That move was surgical because Sergeant Terpsma was separating herself from the prosecution. Everyone else cares about the victims, but hey, I'm here and I care about you. She's carving out a role for herself as the only safe person in the room. She's not.
There's a lot of things that led up to that day, and I'm worried about all that. What happened to those people is serious, but I think what happened before that day is serious for you.
Starts to make him feel like is the risky option. He starts feeling like he needs to open up to her or he's going to lose the only ally that he has. There's a lot of things that led up to that day, and I'm worried about all that. What happened to those people is serious, but I think what happened before that day is serious for you. Sergeant Terpsma tries to make this guy feel comfortable by reframing what happened here as just something that he was going through. She's not judging him. She's not saying he's evil. She's saying that things are complicated. And I think it's understandable. And that's a trick every cop knows how to use, because if they can make you feel like you were overwhelmed or you played some role in it, but it was justified, they know you'll open up and start explaining. I mean, you're not confessing to anything. We're just agreeing together that you felt very stressed. That's the pressure. Not legal pressure, but emotional, psychological pressure. Police officers are trained to talk to you like this to make you feel like this conditioning equals connection. And the decision to remain silent makes you feel like you'll be abandoned. But remember, I don't care how nice the cop is. There's still an investigator. She's not there to be your friend, and she's not there to protect you. Her job is to get anything she can out of you to turn around and twist it to use it against you. But just when you feel like you may have avoided that trick, that's when the sergeant increases the pressure even more. There's something very complicated in you, and I don't know how you feel about it. I mean, if you're good, that's one thing, but I kind of doubt that, especially when you tell me you're in a car crash and you feel bad for that lady, and you know, anyone will feel bad for the lady, right? So, you know what I mean? You are a normal human being, and so when things happen, you feel bad about it. Well, of course, we are the human, right? Right? Sergeant Terpsma doesn't call him a monster, tell him that he did anything wrong. She specifically referred to him as making a mistake. Now, why do you think this framing is so powerful? Because she's trying to construct a parallel here. You felt bad then, you feel bad now. You weren't evil then, you aren't evil now. You're just overwhelmed. You're not a bad person. You're not a criminal. You're just a good guy who had a breaking point like all of us do. And that framing is incredibly seductive. It's far more comfortable to explain how you were overwhelmed because they know that will lead to you explaining what actually happened. Think about it. If I start talking to you and I start saying, oh man, life is really piled up, and you go, yeah, it sure has. In fact, you have no idea. Immediately, you're going to start opening up about all these different things in your life that a cop could now use against you. The cops never needed this guy to say he did it. They only wanted him to start saying things were complicated. And once you say that, you've stepped right into their trap. I want to know what those 1,000 things were that led up to this. I really do. 'Cause I don't think you're a bad guy. You don't seem inherently wicked. She talks about grief, mistakes, and facing things like a man. I want to be able to say something positive about you, Rocky, and that would be that you face this like a man. There it is. A woman looking at a man, linking his willingness to talk more about this to his masculinity. Now, it's about courage. It's about whether you're the kind of man who owns up to things or who hides from the truth. Silence is cowardice. Talking is strength. And that's the trap. Because once you start trying to prove something to a cop about your character, that's when you open your mouth, talk about too much, and cops have exactly what they want: more information from you to use against you. You start thinking about pride. And pride has sent a lot of people to prison. But just when we think she's out of tricks, she pulls out one of the most subtle but effective tricks cops love to use when questioning you. Yeah, it's important that we spend time to clarify what we mean and what our issues are because sometimes when I do these things, I have a certain idea in my head about what the problem is or what the complication is, and sometimes I'm wrong. When I talk to the person, they tell me what the issues are. I think, oh, I was off on that. I needed to clarify that. So Sergeant Terpsma says she might be wrong about what happened here. Now, this should raise a red flag. Why would an investigator pretend to be unsure? The sergeant just admitted that sometimes she misreads situations. That is bait. When it comes to pride, investigators definitely have it, and they're never going to walk into an interrogation room and casually admit they might be guessing. They have a theory. And what this sergeant is doing is she's inviting him to correct her. She floats a version of events, and then she waits because her training has taught her that people are wired to correct things that misrepresent them. If someone tells a story about you that isn't accurate, your instinct is to fix it. And that instinct is exactly what she is targeting. Have you heard of a devil's advocate? No. If for instance, there's a whole team of people that is investigating something like this, all the evidence might point a certain direction, but we always assign somebody to take another look at things from another perspective. And so many times that person is assigned to analyze evidence from a different perspective. And sometimes that person is assigned to try to see another perspective of the person that we're dealing with, and that's me. Like, I'm worried about you, and I'm worried about what caused this, and what is going to happen for you within yourself. Okay. More than anything, I'm here to empower you. That sounds fair. She's being open-minded. But in reality, all it does is lower resistance. You see, the sergeant is telling him, you can safely adjust this. You can safely help me understand, but the moment you correct a detail, even a small one, something critical happens. You stepped inside the detective's story. You're no longer rejecting the claim of your guilt. You're explaining events instead of what you should be doing, denying your involvement, or keeping your mouth shut. Even saying, no, that's not how it happened, confirms that there is a how it happened. Participation in a police officer storyline is powerful because they don't need a dramatic confession. They don't need your help to construct the timeline of what happened, because once you start correcting their version of the events, you have accepted their framework of what happened, and you just agreed that you're in the narrative. From here, they only tighten the news. But even if you resist all of these tricks, you'd be amazed at how effective it is when cops start dripping evidence on you and demanding something back. For hours, Sergeant Terpsma slowly reveals evidence, just pieces. A hat, gloves, fingerprints. This is a ball cap. Have you ever seen that before? Maybe. Tell me about it. I don't know. Do you own that hat? It's a bull cap. Yeah, it is a bull cap. Have you ever owned a hat like that? I have nothing to say. Oh, why not lay it all out at once? Because she needs a reaction from him. A denial, a pause, a flinch, anything she can anchor on camera and look back and say, look, that's the look of a guilty man. Because think about it, if she just dropped all the evidence on the table at one time and he reacted, she wouldn't know what he was reacting to and what he was flinching about. So every step here forces you to choose. Admit it, and they'll label it a confession, or deny it, and they have this recorded denial they can turn around and reframe as a lie. Either answer is useful to them. And because this sergeant has already framed any refusal to answer as being cowardly, she knows you would be more likely to talk. That's the trap. I know that when you see that hat, that it has an impact on you and your mind is going about that hat. And so I don't want to pretend that that hat isn't important to the investigation. I'm going to tell you that hat is very important to the investigation. And if you have something to do with that hat, that's intimidation wrapped in a calm voice. You see how the sergeant is projecting certainty without proving it. That is strategic. That is meant to make you feel like denial is pointless. But if you're innocent and you push into denial anyway, that denial becomes a commitment that the officer will then try to use against you. You see, when you deny one piece, the cops are trained to escalate to another piece of evidence. So, those gloves, you ever seen them before? I think you should say yes. And the reason I think you should say yes is because it's the truth. And I know it's the truth. And so do you. This is pressure disguised as certainty. And notice the goal. It's actually not to learn anything. It's to force you into a position on the record. Same with the footprints. Have a close look at those, Rocky. You'll notice that there's a definite pattern to those shoes. Do you notice that? Have you ever seen shoes like that? Are those your shoes? I got nothing to say. This is how cops manufacture lies, and you get caught in a lose-lose situation. If you say yes, you're giving them admissions. If you say no, you're giving them denials they can weaponize against you. Once you've given denials on camera, they will now claim they have lies that proves you've done something wrong that they can use against you. And if you missed anything, maybe there was some small issue that had nothing to do with what they're alleging, they'll claim that mistake on your part does nothing but prove you're lying about everything, which is what Sergeant Terpsma does right now. Well, I'm going to lose my patient. I'm come sure. It's just, well, I don't know how long can you hold me, but I want you to get this in your head. We're holding you. Yeah, I know that. So wait till you see what's here, because I want to remind you, I was just talking about September 13th. Do you know where you were on September 13th? How about I remember? I can show you how to remember because I know where you were. September 13th. You want to know where you were? I don't want to talk about you were at the Canadian Tire buying these gloves and buying this hatchet and buying this hat. Son, I got you on video doing those things, so I don't want you to sit there thinking this is nothing. She waited until he had already denied, and denied. Then she dropped surveillance because you hear you're looking at the knives, right? Were you looking at knives for some other reason? For cooking or something? Now those denials aren't just answers. They're lies caught on tape, according to the sergeant. And that's the point of the drip feed strategy cops love to use. They let you commit and then they show you what you just committed against. And just when he was reeling from that, the cops bring out the final hammer, the DNA evidence, and by the time the DNA evidence is revealed, it certainly feels like there's no way out. And guess what? It matches. I think it says something like 1 in 19 billion chance that it's not you. Do you want to see the report? I don't understand that. You don't understand what the report anyway. Rocky, it's over. An explanation is really required for you to maintain your humanity. Listen to that last line. An explanation is required. No, it isn't. Not legally. If the cops know everything, why are they asking you to explain it? Sergeant Terpsma is trying to turn her evidence into a moral demand. Remember that trick? Cowards are silent. Heroes explain. You see, the cops don't overwhelm you at the start. They look for you to dig your own holes. And once you dig deep enough, they tell you to look up and see how much trouble you're in. Are we done? No, we're not done. But what if all these tricks don't break you? What if all this so-called evidence doesn't trap you? That's when they turn up the pressure even more. Not legal pressure, family pressure. Your brother wanted to pass on that he loved you. Okay, do you love him back? Of course I do. Good. This is a lot for a family to understand, and a lot of pain can be alleviated by seeing you do the right thing from here forward. You know what I'm saying? You have a lot. You have a big family, really. Who's going to be aware of everything? Are you worried about that? Of course I am. This is purely emotional coercion. She's just using against him the same information she gathered with him during small talk at lunch. She frames talking as helping your family heal, while staying silent is hurting the people you love. And that shift is devastating psychologically because it's much easier to bear the consequences for yourself than it is to be the cause of someone else's pain. So the pressure now changes shape. It's no longer protect yourself. It becomes don't do this to your family. And it works because making someone feel guilty works much better than fear ever could. But legally, your family doesn't benefit from you talking to a police officer in a room. The only thing created by you talking is cops being able to take anything you say to create evidence against you, even when you're innocent. The pain she's describing is emotional, but she's using it to create legal consequences. Which brings us to the final trick in her book. Once the cops allow the pressure to build and build and build, she acts like she's going to do you a favor by offering you a release valve. When a cop looks at you and points a finger at you and says that the evidence against you is overwhelming and we already know what you did, that allows them to reframe everything by making it seem like there is no downside to talking and explaining. Cops are trained to make you feel like all of this is inevitable, and the only way to escape inevitability is to tell them what they want to hear. There's no downside to this for you. Let me just have you around the room one more time. There's no downside for you to say whatever the reason was. I needed money, so I went in there. I have no idea. I just lost it. That man was rude to me and he pissed me off and I was just going to do whatever. I don't know what the reason is, Rocky, but there's absolutely no downside to you telling me what that reason is. The sergeant literally just said there's no downside. But we all know, looking at this, there's only downside when you talk. Every word you say can be used against you in court. Every explanation you give becomes a lie you told to escape guilt. Is that you have a great deal of power here to take control of how this happens. Now, what could change for you is if you be independent here and take control of the situation and you control the pace at which it goes. Now, this sergeant reframes confession as being empowerment. She makes it seem like telling her what she wants to hear is the only form of control this guy has left. But legally, she's only using this man's word to strengthen the case. The narrative she already formed in her head before she walked in that room. Because a confession, an admission to any part of the officer's story, seals the deal for the officer so that they can walk into a courtroom and argue. If you admitted to any part of their story, it only reframes it to prove the narrative, the whole story, by that police officer was accurate from the beginning. And after hours of isolation, guilt, and pressure, you're left with one overwhelming feeling. That talking won't make things worse. But that's exactly when talking is the most dangerous. So what should you do if you find yourself on the wrong end of a cop using these tricks against you? Number 1, cops are not your friend. Number 2, they are not neutral. And number 3, they are not here to hear your side of the story. The moment a cop walks up and starts trying to make you feel comfortable and laying the charm on thick, say these words. Officer, I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. I will not answer any questions without my attorney present, and I do not consent to any searches. And then, shut up. But what if it's not an interrogation room or a cop walking up to your front door, but instead a traffic stop? Check out this next video where I break down what to say and what not to say so that you can stop cops from tricking you during a traffic stop. See you over there.